Cheers, Raider Nation. It's game day, baby. So, what's up, Dominique? What's going down? Happy Thursday to you, man. This is a good day to have football, man. We get to put everything aside on a weekday, dude. Get it in, man. I'm drop a thumbs up. Anybody that can hear, drop a thumbs up if the mic is good, dude. Because I switched mics on StreamYard, dude. Because usually I will use the headphones, dude, when I'm collabing with anybody, dude. It just gets all that noise interference out, so that way nobody's getting that echo effect. So I'm hoping the mic's good on this. The first time I've used my mic on StreamYard, so I'm hoping it's good. I didn't adjust any volume or anything, so if it's not good, I'll pause it and I'll just change mics real quick. But anyway, big move. Oh, sweet. Right on, man. Appreciate that. All right. So today, man, we got a little challenge ahead. I guess Greg Olsen is been scratched from today's game. So I know Gruden probably is heavily involved with the play calling and all that, but still with Signal, shout out to you, girl. What's up, Vanessa? And you know what I'm saying? And so like, I think that with signal calling and stuff like that, it's going to affect some things. But then again, man, let's see what happens today, man. This is going to be Gruden and Derek Carr, man, calling plays, man. Derek Carr probably with a lot of audibles, something I actually want to see. That's something I actually want to see, man, because, I'm putting these 3 games on those 2 guys, man. I'm putting these next 3 games on John Gruden and Derek Carr, man, to just get this thing, man. If the Raiders can pull out a win today, or tonight, I should say, if they can pull out a win tonight, then what's going to go down, dude, is tomorrow's podcast, dude. We'll recap the game, the excitement of the game, all that. But I want to recap what could happen in the playoffs. And I don't want to start talking playoffs right now, but I just want to drop some scenarios that could be fun going into week 16, week 17, because you know how the NFL is, man. And you've seen how we've been exiled from the playoffs, man. I mean, I was at a game in 98, I think it was, or no, 97. One of the years we went 8-8. It was when the New England Patriots before they got good. I know they had that Super Bowl in like 96 versus Green Bay, but the Patriots with, I think their quarterback, I forget who their quarterback was. I think it was Scott Zolak or something like that. And they beat Steve Young and the San Francisco 49ers. And I was at the game and the Raiders were eliminated like before they even played. Like it was just kickoff. So I'm hoping something works out like that for us to get in, like some sort of spark of luck. Cause our team just ain't getting it done. But sometimes just that little bit of luck you get in the NFL where other teams help you out, a scenario might help you out, something like that, man. So that's what I'm looking forward to, in these next 3 games. I'm not trying to get my hopes up too high because, once again, I got to see how this team responds to everything that happened this week from the loss, the disgusting loss versus the Colts, to the firing of Paul Gunther, to Rod Marinelli getting his shot with this defense, and just that new voice that Gruden talked about, how Gruden's going to respond, how Derek Carr is going to respond with the injuries too, man, because, I mean, you look at the rash of injuries it's literally a ton of defensive players that are not going to be in this game. You're losing Farrell for this game, man. You're still going to be without Damon Arnett. Jonathan Abrams going to be out of this game with a concussion. Jeff Heath, he's going to be out for the next 2 games, I believe, if not the rest of the season. Who knows with his protocol, how that's going down. Henry Ruggs makes the COVID list, so he's out, as well. And, in the last game, he only had I think he touched the football one time. He had a rushing play, and that was it, man. But still, Henry Ruggs is that player we kind of talked about a little bit yesterday. He's the guy that has to be accounted for at all times. And I was even saying, man, some people are just being hard on him, man. Like they expect these immediate results. And I do too. I'm an NFL guy, man. I mean, this is the NFL. You got to get those results. But I know the ceiling with Henry Ruggs. And not only that, without trying to make excuses or anything, you got guys like Darren Waller, guys like Josh Jacobs. I mean, those are your superstars right now. Henry Ruggs is going to evolve into that superstar. And plus, they took that touchdown away from him in Cleveland, man. So he technically has 3 touchdowns, and he's averaging 18 yards a catch. That's something nobody really talks about. That stat, actually, though, if you don't get it, you have to have a certain amount of receptions per game. It's like 1.8 receptions per game through like 11 or 12 games or something like that before they put your average up there with the rest of the guys. So if that stat's not showing up for you, you just got to look a little harder, man. He is averaging 18 yards a catch off his receptions. I think like 24 receptions and all that. So he's not going to be your 1,000-yard receiver yet, but that is still to come, man. As they get him targets too. I think the most Henry Ruggs has ever been targeted in a game is like 5 times. That's the most targets he's had in a game. And that, I think they're averaging maybe like 2.5, 3 targets a game, something like that. A stat that I didn't look at. I'm just kind of throwing that off the top of my head, man. But anyway, with today's game, man, we're going to have to scrap this thing together, man. I mean, the Chargers, they're banged up. They're supposedly, I guess, like Keenan Allen's going to be doubtful. Mike Williams, he's got a bad back. He nearly caught that game winner the last game. So, like, he's projected to miss this game as well. But the killer, man, this team's got to figure out how to stop the run. The Chargers will have Austin Eckler in this game. He's a guy that catches a football in the backfield. He's pretty electric. He's come onto the scene pretty strong for that franchise. So Austin Eckler is a guy that we're going to have to keep that guy contained on defense. We can't let Justin Herbert and guys like Austin Eckler and have their way. They're going to have Hunter Henry coming across the middle of the field. We're going to be without Nicholas Morrow in this game. He's been pretty solid throughout the years. And yeah, man, this is going to be, from a matchup standpoint, the Raiders are capable of winning this game. It's just, how are they going to put this win together, man? And I put this on John Gruden. I put this on Derek Carr. My Derek Carr jersey goes back to the year they drafted him. If I was doing YouTube videos in 2014, Derek Carr was on my mock draft and they did draft him. I was excited for that pick. And that QB class, we know it's really shaky. But at the same time, I'm a big fan of Derek, but at the same time, wins and losses, man, we got to somehow fix that resume, man, because that's how you're judged in the NFL. You are judged. If you're a head coach, they're not looking at what you had as a defense. They're not looking at like, wow, you had this great offense and this horrible defense. They're not looking at that. They're looking at wins and losses, man. That's how you get graded in this league. And that goes for the quarterback position. So when you look up a QB stats, man, that win and loss record, it goes on his resume. So somehow, whatever it is that needs to click for this team, they got to help out Derek as well, man, because that is affecting him. We can talk about completion percentages. We can talk about potential. We can talk about if he had a defense, if this and that. It just comes down to getting wins. And today's the perfect storm for what Derek Carr and John Gruden need to do. You're not going to have Greg Olsen as your signal caller out there, because he's got a role in that offense. It's going to affect him. We can all say, well, it doesn't matter, Greg Olsen, this and that. But it does matter because, once again, it's a communication thing, man. It's getting the play call on the field at the right time, man. So we got to hope that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot without Greg Olsen out there, false start penalties, changing of personnel in between plays, you name it. So maybe today, this is something I've always looked for, is an up-tempo offense, man, a high-tempo, hurry-up offense. I think that's the best way to keep a defense on their heels. I think it's a good way for a quarterback and his receivers and all the other personnel on the football field to get in a rhythm, man. And I think that's something Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers have done throughout the years, is that hurry up, high tempo offense. Tom Brady does it. Peyton Manning did it. Rich Gannon did it. Rich Gannon, in my opinion, was one of the guys that really got that thing going. Rich Gannon and John Gruden really got that thing going 20 years for this league. It's a copycat league, and that's just something the league went with. But you see how these offenses are effective in running that. So maybe today that's the perfect recipe to get the win, is get that up tempo. Like I said, we're talking about Greg Olsen not being a part of this, being a part of the offense today and calling plays, getting the right personnel out there, all that. So maybe today is that day where John Gruden says, hey, Derek, here's 5 plays, here's 6, 7 plays, whatever it is. Let's run with this thing, man. Let's keep this defense on their heels. Once again, I'm pretty sure Joey Bosa, and then you got Ingram out there, man. You got the 2 pass rush specialists. You're going to have to keep those guys off guard, man. You're going to have to keep those guys off guard. I believe Nasir Adderley, he might not play in this game as well. So they are banged up. But once again, they got playmakers on their side that can affect the outcome of this game. So we got to do our part in creating that, and being creative and getting the football to the right people, man. And I think Nelson Aguilar's up for a big game today, man. I think he's going to get some good looks today. And, Chris Harris Jr., that guy, he's a good corner, but at the same time, he could easily, with our receiving core, we could still take advantage of the situation on the field. And, Zay Jones, it's going to be a game where he's going to need to step up. And yeah, man, so drop in your thoughts. Let me think here. Who else? Let me took a couple notes this morning, just some updates. One guy that I know, Daryl Worley, is activated for this game. He's expected to suit up for this game. They don't know how much playing time he's going to get, but I'm really interested to see Isaiah Johnson out there again. I know he was a key factor. I'm pretty sure Isaiah Johnson is eligible to play. I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I didn't see any update on him, but I would like to see him out there because he's a matchup problem for this Chargers team. And I only say that because of size and length and speed. He's got the 4.4 speed. He's a taller cornerback. And, these are taller receivers. And you got a 6'6" quarterback back there in Justin Herbert. So, but correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm missing something there. Here's another one, man, that I'm looking forward to. So this stuff as a Raider fan, a fan of the Raiders for many, many, many years, my whole life, the only team I've ever loved in the NFL. I want to see the Raiders continue the winning streak they already currently have against the Chargers. They currently have a 3-game winning streak. I want to see number 4 today. That would be good. Back-to-back years of sweeping the Chargers. You carry that on into the next season because, once again, I take the Chargers seriously, man. They got a young and up-and-coming quarterback in Justin Herbert. I didn't think he was going to be a good quarterback coming out of college. I wasn't the guy that was hyped up on Justin Herbert. I wasn't. And Trevor Lawrence, even early on, I wasn't hyped up on him. I'm really hyped up on Trevor Lawrence right now. That's a whole nother story. But Justin Herbert last year, that's those Senior Bowl. When you watched him in the Senior Bowl, you just knew, like, wow, that guy's got an NFL arm and he throws NFL passes, low and away, keeps it away from the defense, all that. So I take him very seriously, man. And I take his future very seriously. So the Raiders, they got to get in his head, man. You got to get in his head early. Sweeping him on the year would carry on into next year and many more. But you just want to get that get some kind of karma going your way, man. Get that good luck going. But at the same time, with getting that winning streak and all that, man, just how. Because that would set up a whole new discussion for tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm definitely going to do a game recap. Kind of got my schedule shook out to where I can be available in the morning, drop that game recap. And I'm banking, knock on wood, man. I'm banking on a win tonight. I'm banking on 8-6. 8-6 would be an improvement from what we did last year. Finished 7-9. It was they did not finish their last 4 games the way we all wish they could. This is that key game. This is that basically the Jaguars game. If somewhat of the Tennessee, I called kind of last week the Tennessee Titans game of last year, where they got shellacked. That's what happened with Indianapolis last week. You just didn't show up for the big home game. But if the Raiders can get, this win tonight, be 8-6, then tomorrow morning, I'm going to shake out some playoff scenarios. I think it would be fun to talk about the playoffs, but they got to win first to even have that discussion, man. So, let's see here. Josh Jacobs, man, he's another guy that's had, some big games against the Chargers, man. I would like to see, how he shakes out in this game. But once again, teams seem to be, they're going to probably load the box, because at the same time, you don't have Henry Ruggs on the football field, man. So that you're losing 4.28 speed, you're losing hands, you're losing, good route running and game changing play. Literally Henry Ruggs can create a whole new dynamic on the field with one catch, man. We saw that against the Jets. We saw that against the Kansas City Chiefs. He was the difference maker in those 2 big road wins. So let's see here. What else do we got here? Daryl Worley, man, who has a little bit of faith in Daryl Worley. I actually do, man. I actually do. I think Daryl Worley, man, I've never really deemed him as a scrub. I know he's had his struggles, but you know what? I do think he is an upgrade somewhat of what we've had at the number 2 cornerback position. I mean, I know Damon Arnett brought that speed. He's quick, in coverage. It looked like he could hang pretty good with NFL receivers, still raw, of course. But I think maybe a veteran like Daryl Worley, who's kind of been around the league a little bit in his early career, and he did make some plays for us. And, so I'm hoping Daryl Worley, if he, because like I said, they say they expect him to suit up and play and all that. They just don't know how much playing time. We shall see. And he does have continuity with Trayvon Mullen, man. And wow, last week last week. Well, yeah, no, we'll get to that. I'll get to that, Dominique. Yeah, you're very right. Yeah, it depends on what position he's put in. I like him as a cornerback number 2. And I'm just going to go with chemistry. He and Trayvon Mullen, I'm sure there's, with their playing experience, they have some sort of chemistry out there, which hopefully could help us out. Now, Trayvon Mullen, man, that was the worst game I've ever seen him play last week. And I just think Paul Guenther completely lost the defense. I think it showed really with Jonathan Abram and his performance on the field and the way he was taking angles, the way Jonathan Abram just looked undisciplined out there. So that was definitely Paul Guenther losing the defense. So last week, it was just really hard to say anything good about anybody on the defense. And usually Trayvon Mullen's the guy that I'm like, that guy's always stepping up. Somehow last week, man, his game just completely fell off last week. And I think that was due to the defense melting down completely. So, but with Daryl Worley today, man, I got a little bit of faith that, maybe something can change with him on the field. Yeah, it was a big struggle, man. And Dominique in the chat dropping Mullen struggled, man. It was the worst game I didn't expect to see a game that bad from him. But once again, I think it was just a complete defensive meltdown in general, just with everybody on the defense. So I know now, cool. I'll just talk a little bit about Wade Phillips, man, because there's just so many. Wade Phillips, I was reading an article this morning about him interacting with Raider fans on Twitter. I haven't been on Twitter in a minute, but I was reading some of the tweets and I was reading some of the reaction, and it was really good stuff, man. And but the only concern I have is, would John Gruden actually bring in a guy like Wade Phillips? I mean, he's showing interest. He's saying like, wow, I love, like, he's showing like, hey, this is an awesome fan base. These fans interact. They're passionate, this and that. He recognizes those things. And he's even putting in there like, I didn't realize how big this Raider Nation stuff is, man. And he's embracing who we are as fans. He's embracing like, hey, this is what I could do if I was to help this team, like talking about how key it is to get sacks, how all that stuff that all ties into the Al Davis philosophy, everything. But I mean, realistically though, I mean, it's like all of us fans would want that, but with Wade, would John Gruden really bring him in, man? That's the big question moving forward, because some say it's a buddy system. I try not to veer down that thought process. My hope is that John Gruden would ultimately do the right thing for the franchise and ultimately do the right thing for us fans, because what we want to be back into the mix of the playoffs. We want to be back in the mix of winning the AFC West. And yeah, man, like even like last night, I kind of tuned away from news. I got a lot of VHS tapes. I got this cool little VHS recorder from Amazon, dude. It was like $30. So I'm ripping all my old VHS tapes from games I used to go to back in the late 90s throughout the early 2000s, man. And so I'm going to start dropping those. It's going to be on a different channel. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how I'm going to I'll probably get popped on that stuff for rebroadcasting old school NFL games. But, and I'm going to put your comment up here, Dominique. Yeah, this is great right here, man. Because I agree, man. After long thought, man, he put in the chat here, I really want Phillips, but I don't think Gruden will bring him in. I hate to say it, but I think Marinelli will be our DC the next year as well. Shake my head. That very well could be. They got ties going back to Tampa Bay. And once again, he did. I mean, Fierce Raider brought that up the other day in the comments, man, is that he did get rid of Brenson Buckner, man. That was a questionable move as to why, and then they bring in Marinelli. So if anything, you would have thought Buckner would have been the guy to rise up in this situation. And he's another coach who was embracing Raider football, the Raider culture, everything. And, disappointing moves. And that's the one thing about the NFL, man. A lot of us will say it's ego. I don't know if it's overthinking or ego, man. Sometimes I just can't put my finger on it. Maybe I'm blind to that stuff, but I for sure see overthinking in the NFL. We see that all the time. But is that because of ego? I don't know, man. I don't know, because we all know what gets results in the NFL. You just know who gets the job done in the NFL. And from free agent pickups, sometimes from a guy coming out of college, all that stuff, you just know that guy's going to be a superstar, man, or that guy's going to be a great coach. And, but Wade Phillips, man, you get a guy like him in, you still could have a young and up and coming coordinator through Wade Phillips, or a guy that could come in and just adapt to the same philosophy from the outside. The Rams did that. They got Brandon Staley there. He can run the 3-4, pretty much anything. He's a young and up-and-comer, and he's handling that defense after taking over for Wade as well. So their defense is strong. I know they got Aaron Donald there anchoring the middle, but you never know, man. I know some have talked about Quinnen Williams possibly being a Raider because the Jets might trade him. That guy was on my mock a couple years back, man, at number 4, but he went number 3 overall. But yeah, man, we do need that electric defensive player. Whether it be and I know, Dominique, you brought that up in the chat or in the comment the other day, dude, was get a DT, and I'm 110 with you on that, man. I'm also big on getting a linebacker too. So whichever one it is, man, if you get that sideline to sideline superstar linebacker, you get that big defensive tackle that just change things up and just anchor that defense somehow, create pressure in the pocket, because pass rush, man, has been the biggest soreness on this defense forever, man. I mean, we're just not getting a pass rush. We're always last in sacks. And once you get that, establish that pass rush, you establish pressure on the quarterback, just creates turnovers, creates panic for the other team, and then our offense, they got to protect the football. And this is for these next 3 games. They cannot put the football on the ground, man. You cannot be turning the football over tonight versus the Chargers, man. So we'll see what goes down tonight, man. But I really do think tonight, it's really going to come down to stopping the run, man. I keep trying to, start talking about Justin Herbert and them. My biggest concern tonight from our defensive standpoint is going to be Austin Eckler out there, man, because once again, that guy catches the football out of the backfield. That guy has had some big games rushing already. He's already played got a game under his belt after his injury, and he's going to be ready to go tonight. I see that guy ready to go tonight, and I see our defense, and they're going to be watching film of the last 2 games. I mean, shit. Go back 3 games. I mean, we couldn't even beat Atlanta. They were without Julio Jones. They were without Todd Gurley. But fast forward to the Jets, man, we give up 200 yards rushing to the Jets, and then we give up another 200 yards rushing to the Colts. And I know the Colts have the best offensive line in the league, and they got those young running backs, man. You got Hines, who can receive. You got Jonathan Taylor, who just exploded on that. 150 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. He exploded on the scene. And, the Chargers are going to be looking to aim to continue to pound the rock against this defense, man, and really expose us as we've been exposed. So I really do think it's important tonight, man, is for our offense to answer points all night long, is not put the football on the ground, get the football to your playmakers, man. Continue to feed Darren Waller in this offense. Continue to get more creative with Josh Jacobs, man. Get more creative with Josh Jacobs. I mean, his rushing yards, under 4 yards a carry. They got to figure out a way to get him involved in a way where it's not so vanilla and not so obvious. The Raiders very effective in pounding the rock in between the tackles, but somehow let's open up that running game in a way where we're not so predictable, man. And then getting guys like Zay Jones has shown us some moments this year, man. So maybe even stretch the football field. Just keep stretching the football field with Nelson Aguilar and Zay Jones, guys that run 4.4 speed. Keeping the defense honest. Foster Moreau, man, we saw him make a good move out in the open field for a big touchdown, man. Continue to feed him. And once again, man, just open up that offense. I know without Ruggs, it's going to be a little bit different. You're going to have Brian Edwards as well out there, man. Let's see if we can get his game a little honed into this offense. And let's see, if they can just open this thing up. And like I said, I think it really comes down to, that's why I started the show off with the high tempo, up tempo offense, man, hurry up offense, keeping the defense guessing. And a lot of that going back to Greg Olsen not being available for tonight, with signal calls and all that, give Derek Carr that responsibility. John Gruden has to do that, man. Because there's always going to be that argument. Oh, well, it's John Gruden, man. He's holding Derek back, this and that. Well, at some point, he's just got to say, hey, Derek, here's the keys to the offense, dude. Just handle it, man. You got the NFL arm. You got the system. This is your 3rd year in the system. You got the system, man. Just run it, baby. Run it. And just leave it all on the field. Just leave it all on the football field. There should be no no second guessing or anything. You know your receivers. You have the chemistry. Everything's there for you guys to make a decision tonight whether you want to be an 8-6 football team, because that's what I want from this football team. 8-6, man. It's there, and I'm not gonna, and I know they've looked bad. I know it's easy to say, oh man, this team doesn't deserve it, this and that. Losing 3 out of 4, we know that, but at the same time, while there's still 3 games left, man. 8-6, and then we can start talking about 9-6, and then so on. So, but anyway, man, so we'll see what goes down tonight. I'm not going to really drop any predictions or anything. I'm just more of just dropping in, saying what's up and all that. And, I'm trying not to think about the offseason. Some of us are probably thinking about the offseason after the last 2 games. But yeah, man, like, just looking for that spark of luck, man, that spark of luck to just bring to the table, like, can our team just somehow get lucky? I mean, 2011 was a bummer, man. That was a team that could have won the West. 2016, when they freaking Derek Carr broke his leg. I mean, you could still go to Denver and you could have beat Trevor Siemian for the AFC West, but I know Matt McGloin was under center that day. I mean, it's just, things aren't going our way, man, ever. It seems like, last year they get that 6-4 start, and you're looking at the schedule. And that's the thing, man, is everybody looks at the schedule too far ahead of time. They always go, oh, that's a win. That's a win. That's a win. Oh, we can run the table with this team. And that was the problem, man. It wasn't just, Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth on Sunday night after the Chiefs game. They're showing the Raiders schedule. That's us fans are guilty of that. Oh no, look how easy the schedule gets once we get through that Kansas City game. Never in the NFL, man. You saw the Raiders. They struggle against the Jets. That's a fact. That is a fact. This team last year got their ass kicked in New York. There is no excuse for that. And all it takes is a spark. I mean, you could say, oh, well, there were some Raider fans in the stands last year at MetLife Stadium, and Jamal Adams took it personal or whatever. You know what I mean? When's somebody on our team going to take something personal, man? You know what I mean? I'm hoping somebody on our team can take something personal and rise up. And, I know there's no fan interaction really out there, but take something personal. Just take the last 2 games that you played personal and get that freaking win tonight, man. So, but anyway, man, I'm gonna probably tap out here, dude. I'm gonna do some getting ready for like I said, I'm gonna be adding a new channel. And the only reason it's going to be a new channel because I'm going to put freaking NFL content on it, and we're going to see what happens. I mean, if you know anything about this shit, let me know, because they'll probably shut. I don't know if they shut those channels down, but I got some old school, I even got like old school Super Bowls, not the Raiders Super Bowl, but I'm going to start putting out some older content from back in the day, man. I went through a lot of VHS tapes, man. It was just awesome, man. Last night, I mean, I saw my little girl, dude, in year 2001 with her Charles Woodson jersey on. She's got the big hands clapping and everything, and man, I was running around with a VHS camcorder back then. So I've always been big on like camera stuff and like just recording stuff. So I have a lot of content before like I think MySpace just barely came out back then, but like before Facebook, before YouTube really hit the scene. And I want to share some of that content, not the personal content, but more of like the games I recorded. I mean, I got a fucking whole box full of VHS recorded games, man. And so, and I haven't even like rewatched those games really, but like even a lot of games like the Super Bowl, I mean, everything. So I'm going to break that out on a different channel in the off season, man. And then, and do a lot more fun stuff. And I hope you guys enjoyed yesterday's little segment. I've been getting some messages from you guys, man. I appreciate you pushing me to get more content out, man, because I need that. I need to know that you actually like this content and it's worth your time, man. So, you know what I'm saying? Like one thing is, so I got that little, coffee buzz that we're going to do, man. We're going to do a little coffee time where I just drop a 2-minute, 3-minute video, just say what's up to everybody, man. It's a good way to get that thing out there. So I got a couple little things. I'm just going to try to get more content out, if not daily or every other day, man, and do my best, man, to interact better on here on the internet, man, and chop up good ideas, man, because I love having these discussions because, man, when you guys drop your angle on what you see and all that, man, it just opens up the big picture, man. I'm not a one-sided thinker where I'm like, oh no, it's got to be this way, or no, we need a new quarterback, or we need a new defense, or anything like that. I like to open up the big picture, man. I like to look at the entire big picture, man. And you guys bring great angles, great. That's what makes the discussion so great. And I just think that's how we just look at the game so much bigger and better than what maybe other fan bases don't have. Cause I don't see a lot of other teams that, or other fan bases that, you know, have as many Raider channels that's out there. I mean, there's just so much Raider content out there. And I just think it brings so much more of a broad, you know, a broad discussion, man, because even when I'm out talking with other fans, it's crazy, man. I'm out talking with them and they'll say certain things and I'm like, no, I got like 10,000 different angles. And that's because we have such a great discussion here on these platforms, man. And YouTube is badass, man, by the way, because I like YouTube, man. I told you guys the other day, man, Facebook was really pissing me off, dude, because there was a lot of people, you know, just talking garbage on the Raiders, man, and, you know, calling Henry Ruggs a bust. And I know that got some of you guys fired up yesterday, man, but you know, I thought that was a worthless discussion right there to call that young man a bust. And he's only 21 years old and he only runs like a 4.28 40. He's only had two huge games where he was the difference maker in those games, like at Arrowhead Stadium. I mean, what other NFL team this year beat the Chiefs? You know, Henry Ruggs, you know, can hang his hat, you know, on that game because he was the difference maker in that game. And I know it was the Jets, but like I said, we struggle against the Jets and he was the difference maker in that game. And so, like I said, some of these other platforms I go to and I'm just kind of jumping in the chat, some of those conversations are absolutely worthless, man. And Facebook, man, I expect more from you, man. Come on, guys, get your stuff together. Don't be so mad all the time. You know what I mean? But Twitter's always good. I know Twitter, you know, I just don't get on there and interact because sometimes, man, it's just hard, dude. If I get wrapped up in a conversation and then I got to get a job done, it's hard, man. So, and then all of a sudden I'm not productive in real life, you know? So, but anyway, baby, I got my Derek Carr jersey. I'm going to roll with this thing for the rest of the year, man. Every day I'm going to wear my Derek Carr jersey, man, because you know what, man, I look at it like this, man. It's our head coach and it's our quarterback, man. That's going on their resume, man. That's going on their resume, on their career. That's their career. This is their career. And these wins and losses get tacked onto your career right there. That's your career statistic, man. You are graded by wins and losses, man. So, yo, Fierce Raider, what's going down, brother? How you doing today? And, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm going to be rocking this jersey, man. And like I said, you know, and here's the thing, Fierce, let me just jump into what we were discussing earlier, man. The fact the Raiders are going to be without Greg Olsen today, man. So, you know, I know Gruden's heavily involved in the play calling and all that, but, you know, I think today is the day, man, where you just let Derek Carr run with this offense. You let John Gruden give him that handful of plays. You run that up tempo. You run that hurry up offense, man, and no huddle all day. And here's what you do, man, as you just let Derek Carr see what, you know, let him just take the, you know, whatever he sees on the field, let him diagnose what needs to be go down on the field, man, because I think that's going to affect them when it comes to personnel, when it comes to signal calling, you name it. It's going to be, you know, that's kind of an unfortunate situation unless they have a way of getting, you know, unless he's going to be operating from a you know, a quarantined area or whatever from Zoom or whatever, you know, with other coaches. I don't know. But yeah, man. So I think today's the day where you just kind of let Derek Carr run with this offense and you see what these guys can do out there, man, because it's going to be, you know, with all the injuries on defense, you got injuries on defense, you without Henry Ruggs today. I know the Chargers, they're going to be without their guys, you know, Keenan Allen, not supposed to play today, not expected to play. Mike Williams, not expected to play. Now, Mike Williams is the mismatch nightmare. And that's why, you know, he is the mismatch nightmare, man. So I actually hope he doesn't play today. And so here's the thing. And like you said, Fierce, John Gruden's play calling has been bad. And I think that goes, and that's why I'm kind of going back a little old school, back when John Gruden would just I know Rich Gannon was more of a veteran than Derek Carr and had seen a lot different NFL offenses, but you know, do similar what you did with Gannon, man. Just trust. And Derek Carr is a veteran quarterback. Let Derek Carr just handle this one, man. Let Derek Carr, you know, execute what he sees on the football field, man. And, you know, and like I said, man, because tonight is a big night. And one thing I wanted to update you on, Fierce, is that tonight, man, we get this win and we're 8-6. Tomorrow morning's podcast will be completely playoff talk. We're going to shake out. We'll talk about whatever exciting moments happen in the game and recap that. But then we're going to start talking about the playoffs and what could happen for this team leading up to week 17, because I found a cool little tool, man, that kind of breaks down all that stuff, man. I had some fun with it, man. So I have a lot of fun the last couple of days, man. I got my VHS collection, dude, from back in the day when I used to go to games and then just hit record on the VHS, record the game. I got those games. I'm gonna start dropping those games in the off season and all that on a different channel, because I don't know how they're gonna react to all that stuff. But man, here's the thing. Tonight, still, as bad as this team has played 3 out of 4 weeks, the last 4 weeks, I should say, and I think I said that the other day, be that team that won 3 straight. Be that team that won in week 8 through week 10. Be that team week 15 through week 17. And the thing is I can't give up hope. I'm just that I'm not the blind. I don't want to say I'm a blind fan. A blind fan or anything like that. I see the reality. I see the team trending in the downward direction. You know what I mean? They're trending down as far as their performance. But that little bit of optimism that they are 7-6 and they could be 8-6, I got to run with that, man. That the optimism will always flow, because there's still a chance to be 8-6, and I want that. That's why, you know what I'm saying? Because I just can't give up, man. I cannot deal with another. Last year, I was so disappointed that they were 7-9, but in the offseason, I went into the offseason thinking, this is a young team. This is a young team, Dave, man. They just got a taste of what's to come. Oh, this year's going to be different. And I started feeling that at 6-3. And then you see them, lose that tough game against Kansas City. And you're like, oh, but they can hang. And then they just blew it in Atlanta. Then they nearly got beat by the Jets. Then last week, a disaster game again. So if somehow they can rekindle what they did early on in the season and bring that back in the month of December, that would be huge, man. And we know what they would finish if they did pull off 3 straight. But and like you said, Fierce, I do agree, man. They may need to bring a young offensive coordinator in, and I'm big on that. Man. And I think defense, we were talking a little bit about Wade Phillips earlier. Defense, you got to get that proven guy. Wade Phillips, man, is a proven guy. We're hoping John Gruden would be on board with that as fans. But the thing is that yeah, exactly. I know we do know that will probably, hopefully it would, but we know that it probably wouldn't. But at the same time, bringing in a younger offensive coordinator, I'm all for. But I want Gruden, because Gruden's got to build his legacy, man. He's still got to build his legacy. He can't just say that he's some legend coach because he rebuilt the Raiders in the early 2000s. They could have won 3. A team that could have won 3 straight Super Bowls. If you think about it, that 2000 Raider team could have won the Super Bowl. That 2001 Raider team could have won the Super Bowl. The 2002 teams, and so on. But let me spin something on that. Al Davis was running this team as well then, and Al Davis, built some Super Bowl teams himself. And I felt like Al Davis, man, his philosophy, even though the media banged on him and all that, man, the man-on-man coverage, the way he brought in what I felt like was going on in the early 2000s, and why Gruden was so, so embraced by the media, everything, and everybody was on board, and he looked like this next offensive guru, was that Al Davis created that challenge for John Gruden. Al Davis was, hey, you're going to, he threw in his play calls like, hey, I want 5 of my plays called the game. So there was a lot of, and there was just that much discussion. So, but back to what we need to do right now is Gruden does need to continue to build if he wants a legacy in this league, because, you can't just say you're a quarterback guru, or you can't just say these things and have these types of results, man. You just can't. And so yeah, if he does bring in another offensive coordinator, I would like to see it be that sleeper. I would like to see it be that guy that's low key. You didn't even know about him. This guy's like how Sean McVay is in the league right now. And that guy ends up becoming a head coach, something crazy like that. Bill Belichick does it all the time, man. Josh McDaniels, he brought that guy up. That guy's just better suited with Bill Belichick. So yeah, man. So I'm just reading a comment here real quick by Fierce Raider. Let me put you up here. So they are still young, but Paul, Gunther, and Gruden has been hindering our players. Gruden is a great game planner, but he is a terrible play caller. He is very uncreative in his plays, and I agree, man. That's there's nothing wrong with that statement at all, man. That's very fair and very to the point, and firm to the point, I should say, because it's true, man. We're in the red zone. Hey, what's going on in the red zone, Gruden? I mean, that's a big deal, man. We're not the best red zone off. I mean, we look pretty good in the red zone at times, but we've turned the football over in the red zone. I mean, you got to execute in those situations, and we've put the football on the ground in the red zone as well. So yeah, man, I agree, man. The creativity needs to be there. And what's helped this offense this year is I personally think, and he's not getting the targets, and we talked about this, is Henry Ruggs, man, because he has to be accounted for at all times, and he is the best kept secret weapon at this point because nobody's riding that Henry Ruggs hype in the media. They're not saying like, oh my God, look what Henry Ruggs does on the field for this team. Nobody's really pointing that out in like the mainstream media or anything like that. So that's something that I always say, like, he's the best kept secret weapon, man, because when it's time, you got other guys producing. You got guys like Darren Waller, man, who, let me say something about Darren Waller real quick. I'm going to say something deep about Darren Waller, dude. Okay. If I was to build this football team from scratch, Darren Waller is probably the first guy that I put on this football team. Darren Waller, I take him over Travis Kelce. I'll take him over any tight end right now in the league. But if they said, hey, dude, here's a clean slate Raider freaking roster right here, I'm taking Darren Waller hands down, dude. Darren Waller is a special player, man, and he is getting the job done. And not only that, here's what I love most about Darren Waller. He don't talk trash. Another thing, he's all about the game of football, man. He is all about the game of football. And you see it. You see that guy smiling all the time on the field. That guy is enjoying his football career, man. I couldn't say enough good things about Darren Waller, man. Yeah, that was sick, dude. That was a sick play. Dominique dropped in there. Yeah, that was a good play, man. Dominique put in the chat, I was blown away last week when Zay threw the ball to the Nelly, and here's the thing, and he even put in there, he added to it, LOL. I couldn't even believe Gruden had that in his playbook, LOL. Yeah, maybe Gruden was playing a little bit of John Madden football, John Madden 2021 football, man. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, it was. I know that was that did catch him off guard as well. And here's the thing, yeah, man, with all these, with John Gruden being creative, that is going to be, that what's going to help him is what Fierce Raider said, getting that young offensive quarter, that young mind in there, and a young mind that will combat John Gruden and challenge him and say, no, man, let me draw this up, man. You're giving me my shot. You're giving me my play. Call my play in this game. You know what I mean? Because that's what we're going to want. These guys get up at Gruden. Apparently, it used to get up at 4 a.m. back in the day with Rich Gannon, where the, first guy to the building, all that stuff, I heard he's been getting up at like 3 a.m. I mean, so, this guy gets up early to prepare. But once again, a big problem I've always seen throughout many years in the NFL, and this is like a lot of people are guilty of this, is overthinking. And that's media. Media overthinks a lot. A lot of draft analyst guys overthink a lot. You know what I mean? And like I said, even going back, man, one guy, I mean, trust me, Henry Ruggs is my guy, man. But, man, Justin Jefferson was a guy that nearly made my mock last year because, man, his performance at LSU was phenomenal. And look how good. He made Joe Burrow look 10 times better than what and Joe Burrow is good, but don't get me wrong, Justin Jefferson was his go-to guy. Let me just pop up some of these comments here. Fierce Raider. Carr needs to give Ruggs more shots through. I guess Gruden's conservative play calling has Carr going to Waller and Aguilar 90% of the time. Very true. Yeah, the targets for Henry Ruggs, I think the most targets he's had in one game is like 5. 5 targets is the most he's had in one game. And that's a guy, if he's getting separation on the field, which, most time when I check out film and stuff, I see Ruggs getting a lot of separation, especially the first 3 weeks of this year. First 3 weeks, man, Henry Ruggs, on a simple curl route would get 7, I should say, I'm going to exaggerate. It's about 7 to 10 yards of separation on his break. You saw the Jets game. He had like 4 to 5 steps on his man in that big touchdown that won the game. Henry Ruggs gets separation, and the defensive coordinators know that in this league. So let me get your second comment here. I wish Carr would cuss basically say cuss Gruden out and take over like Gannon did. And that's the key. That's the key, man. That's something. See, I'm gonna storytell a little bit, man. I'm in the trades, all that, and corporate settings, you name. I mean, I worked for a company that basically ended up becoming a corporate setting where it was like where before, it was just us guys, the trades, guys talking, no union stuff, nothing. But one thing we always did, man, and us guys, we would say this at the end of like the year, like, hey, we had a good year. We busted our ass. We want bonuses. We want this. You got to be demanding in this life, man. You know what I mean? Hey, I'm the nicest guy in the world, but you got to be demanding when it comes to your job, when it comes to your money, when it comes to your skills, your passion to win, your passion to succeed. You have to be demanding in life. We're all good people. We all have good hearts and good intentions. However, you got to get yours, man. And that's what Derek Carr needs to do to this organization. If Derek Carr did say that publicly, like, I want to win for the fans. I want to do this. And it really comes down to putting everything on the line. And I'm talking risking an injury. I'm talking risking everything, risking it all, leaving it on the field. Because you're 100% committed to the game, and not your career, you're committed to the game, because everything else will play itself out. Whether you look bad or you look good, whatever, you leave it all on that field, man, and nothing else matters because you gave it your all. I'm not saying Derek's not giving it his all. What I'm saying is we need results, man. We need to get those results, man. And if it's Derek Carr challenging his head coach that's locked up in a contract for the next 7 years, if it's Derek Carr challenging Mark Davis, the front office of the Raiders, whatever it may be, let's get this thing done, man. Let's get this thing done. There is still 3 games left in this season, man. There is a chance to go 8-6 tonight, a fair chance. I know our team's banged up, but their team's banged up as well. They have key players that should be out. And I haven't checked the update. I've been on here about 45 minutes, so I know things are going to be changing as we're talking here. But, so far it looks like no Keenan Allen, no Mike Williams. That's a big deal, man. Joey Bosa, if he plays, he's going to be a because there's Nick Bosa for the night. But Joey Bosa, he's going to be a problem, man. He's going to be a problem. And but then again, positive thinking. Colton Miller, only 1 sack. We're going to still have Trent Brown in this game. Hopefully Trent Brown in his second game back, hopefully that right side, mows down that Chargers defense and we can get Josh Jacobs a little bit open and hopefully get Josh Jacobs' rushing yard average up a little bit, whatever it may be, man. But yeah, man, that's exactly what I want. Just what Fear said. I want that Gameday, that intensity where you just knew those guys were all about winning. And it was almost like it was personal. It was almost like, because they gave each other some evil looks. The argument with Derek Carr, when the Raiders beat the Arizona Cardinals a couple years back in 2018, and the media ran with, oh, look at Derek Carr and John Gruden bickering. That was nothing. That was nothing compared to when John Gruden and Rich Gannon, they looked like they were about to freaking fight, dude. Like some shit was going to go down, like some file cabinets. Like when they go to when they had a meeting the following week, or maybe that week, like some paperwork got thrown around in the front office, like somebody's desk got cleared. Remember those days? When a man could just clear another man's desk, like, fuck you, man, this and that. Like, I want to see some shit like that. Like Moneyball, one of my favorite movies, man, when he's throwing the filing cabinet around. I mean, losing is not fun, man. And this is professional sports. And these guys got to answer to the media. They got to answer to the fans, the city that they play in. You name it. Oh, man, dude. And I get chills thinking about that Fierce Raider, man. And he put in the chat, Gannon was a guy, bro. And he was, dude. I was saying, man, I got these VHS tapes I've been rewatching, and it gives me chills because I look back to 20 years, man. My kid is going to be 20 years old soon. And like, time has flown, but I look back and I appreciate so much what I lived through, man, what I experienced as a fan, going to the games and just being a part of like that era and like the friends, the barbecues. It's still the same now. it's still the same now. Unfortunately, I look back, some people I used to go to, man, they've passed away. They're not here anymore, man. And it's a part of that is like, you're brokenhearted about it. But then another part of it, you're just like, I appreciate those moments, man. And that era, man. And I just watched Howie Long highlights the other day, man. And it brought back those moments. And it's just, oh man. And sometimes, like with this team and like today's game is so it's so automatic, almost like, it's like the Chiefs are gonna win, or like certain things like, oh, there's no if you go back to when the Raiders played the Chiefs, nobody's gonna give the Raiders a sporting chance. Nobody's gonna give, but the football that I grew up on, you just never know. It was any given Sunday. And it still is like that. It's that's still a rule, that mentality still applies to today's game, man. So yeah, man. Yeah, dude, it was, bro. It was, man. I go and man, I mean, dude, I'm old school, man. I still listen to 90s hip hop, man. I still listen to 90s music in general, 80s, 90s, you name it, man. And yeah, man, all the way up until like 2015, because there was still some good shit going up there. I mean, we had some good shit in the year 2000s, but man, just everything was more, I'm glad I did appreciate it. And I did. One thing I've done in life, man, is I just stop and appreciate the moment, dude. And I'm glad I did, because you look back and you go, wow, man, like, I lived that and I enjoyed it. I wasn't complaining during that process, man. And I'm trying to remember, like being a Laker fan as well, man. Some of my fellow buddies, man, growing up, man, I was a big Shaq fan. I became a big Kobe fan. Kobe earned me by 2005. Kobe was my guy, man. And you know what the crazy thing is that, and I was a Shaq guy, but Kobe earned it. And here's the thing. And now, everybody loves Kobe, and rightfully so. Everybody does. But here's the thing. I'm glad that, because I would go to games and some people like, oh, Kobe's taking too many shots, this and that. He's a ball hog, blah, 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 blah. Everybody complaining. But I was like, no, dude, but it's all about winning championships. So I appreciate that. I appreciated that because, man, I didn't miss a Laker game from 2005 all the way throughout his entire career, all the way to the 60-point game, man. And, so I'm thankful for that. And that's why I'm so humbled at my ripe age of 42, man. So, yeah, let me put his comment. Dominique 5, man. I feel Jonathan Abram is playing in the wrong era. Very true, dude. Very true. And, Jonathan Abram is totally my style of football, man. When I played football in high school, I was a free safety, man. And when 7-on-7 drills, I use 7-on-7 drills as a gauge here, man, because, you're playing with your buddies basically, dude, in high school. They're all your friends. And I remember my coach coming up to me and he's like, yo, dude, he's like, and of course you can't touch the quarterback in 7-on-7 drills and all that, but he would always tell me, dude, when the receiver reaches out for that football, man, your job is to intimidate. Your job is to make sure that he doesn't even want to come your way and even try to catch that football. So you're to clean his clock and make sure that ball comes loose. And that's what we were taught. And we were taught that, what was that? That was 92. So it was a different mentality. And I was talking with a guy, because I actually nearly took a Pop Warner. It was like for 8th graders this year. A guy that, it's a whole nother story, but a guy out here in the area I live in, out here in the IE, they coach a football team, and they offered me a position, to do some coaching, man, which I was, pretty much considering, but they had to remind me. They said, hey, just to let you know, though, from when you guys were playing as kids back in the day, it's a completely different game now. You can't teach certain things now, like bull in the ring. I don't know if you guys remember that drill, man, but like certain drills like that, you can't do that anymore. But that's what we grew up on, and that's what we did. And we used to come home. Like, I used to come home when I came home for football practice, dude, I had cuts on me. Like, some guys didn't trim their nails, so you get clawed up, all that shit. But one thing my coach always told us was, hey, I don't care if you eat lunch with that guy. I don't care if he's your friend. When he comes across the middle, you give him 110% pop across the middle. You hit him as hard as you can, and you make sure he goes down. And, and that, I felt like that mentality, created less injuries. I think now guys are thinking about, there's been so much that's evolved in the game, and so many people are afraid of an injury. And I think if you're afraid of an injury, that's what's going to get you hurt. But yeah, Jonathan Abram is playing in the wrong era. However, there's one thing though with Jonathan Abram, is I do think there's some maturity issues with Jonathan Abram. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. I'm saying that as a young man thing. Like, he's a young man, he's in the NFL, and and I'm not saying, maybe it's not maturity, but I'm just saying he does some annoying things. It looks like he's annoying his teammates. So here's my thing with Jonathan Abram: as long as he backs it up on the football field and he doesn't blow assignments, he could evolve into that perfect NFL safety in today's era. He just has to clean up the discipline stuff, man. He can't, if he's going to put a late hit on a guy, he's got to do it at the right time. He can't do it at the wrong time. The 3rd and 15 was the wrong time. But if you got to do that, on their side of the field early on in the game, if you got to send a message early on, I'm all for that. I'm all for that, man. I'm all for a late hit if it's to send a message early. But if it's at the wrong time where it costs you a play, it costs you a drive, or it costs you 7 points or even a field goal, whatever it may be, and your team's not reacting to it, you got to get the team to react to it. So if Jonathan Abram, when he lays that wood on the field and he knocks and he cold clocks somebody and they're laying and he's standing over him and all that, I want to see the whole sideline rise up because of that. You know what I mean? So, yeah, let me put, that's a great comment right there. Fierce Raider also dropped in there. I feel like Jacobs might be too, because he got a flag for trucking a defender. I know, man. I know. And I know they got a good still shot on that as well, man. That's a good little poster right there to have on the wall. But yeah, man, you know what I mean? So I'm big on that stuff, because like I said, my favorite player growing up, even though I was not a 49er fan, before my time, was Jack Tatum. I was all told by family members of mine, Jack Tatum. They all told me about Jack Tatum way back in the day. So and I read his book, all that stuff. But the thing was, my guy growing up was Ronnie Lott. Even though I wasn't a Niner fan, I wasn't a fan of Montana and all those guys. I was just liked watching Ronnie Lott, and I liked the story behind Ronnie Lott, his days at USC, all that. And so Ronnie Lott was the guy that I liked watching. I wore number 42 when I played. I always try to fight to get 42 because that was my number. But yeah, man, our guys like in the 90s, all that. I mean, I loved our guys, our defensive backfield, guys like Lionel Washington, Eddie Anderson, all those guys. I mean, it was just a different era, man. But yeah, no, man, with Jonathan Abram, the one thing I think, because last week, in the last few weeks, I should say, but last week, really, his angles were bad. So that told me he wasn't sticking with his assignment. And then another thing that was bad last week was, he looked stiff out there, man. He looked stiff, man. He looked like he couldn't flip his hips, especially on that first touchdown to T.Y. Hilton. He got. I mean, maybe he was looking at the quarterback too long. I think Rivers might have got him with his eyes. Maybe caught him looking too long on that one, and maybe he wasn't. Maybe it had nothing to do with his athleticism. Because I know Jonathan Abram, he runs a 4.4 40. He's got the athleticism to hang with receivers in the NFL. He typically does take the right angles. His film at Mississippi State, he's good in coverage. His PFF grades all show that. But the thing is like, just something went wrong these last 4 weeks, and it could have been a discipline thing, because maybe these guys just were done with Paul Gunther, and they're like, hey, we're not buying in, because I did mention earlier, Trayvon Mullen, and Dominique and I were talking about that. Is that guy, Trayvon Mullen looked like he played his worst game in the NFL since he's been in this league. And that just did not look like the Trayvon Mullen that we've been watching for the last couple seasons. Man, woof, man, I'm fired up on a Thursday, man. I'm feeling it today, man. I know I had a funny feeling. I was I'm going to drop a live stream, but I am feeling it today, man. I'm feeling like I believe, man. I believe this team's going to go 8-6. I'm feeling like that would feel real good. I'm feeling like that would feel really good. You know what I'm saying? Because, what we go 6-10 with Del Rio in 2017. That was a major disappointment. After the media said that we're going to beat the Patriots, we're the only team that could beat the Patriots in the freaking playoffs. Then we get John Gruden. He guts the team. We go for a tough 4-12. And then, then after that, we go 7-9 after finishing 6-4. This year, 6-3. You're just hoping like, dude, hey, man, you could run the table, or you not run the table, but you could literally finish 11-5. If you play the football that you've been playing the first 9 games of the season, you could definitely finish 11-5. And we're still out on the outside looking at 10-6, but it's got to start tonight, man. It's got to start tonight. 8-6. Get this win. It's a winnable game. And like I said, because they're banged up, You just got to make sure that they don't beat you with their strengths. They're going to be on the field. The pass rush, when it comes to our offense on the field, you don't want their pass rush to be getting to our guys. And then on top of that, on the defensive side of the football, you got to shut down Austin Eckler in this game, and you can't let Justin Herbert, start to dissect our secondary, because they do know this Raider defense is banged up, and this Raider defense, whether healthy or not, this Raider defense let me put it this way. I think the stat for the last 4 games, I think this is the last 4 games, the Raiders defense gave up 37.5 points a game. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure the last 4 games, this last 4 stretch of since the 6-3 start, the Raiders have given up 37.5 points a game the last 4. So that is bad. That needs to be fixed. That the bleeding on that needs to stop immediately. And just as you said to Rod Marinelli and his future, man, I know, man, like but we've seen it before too, where like the one time when John Pagano, I know it was a different staff, but John Pagano, when he took over, he was very successful with the Raider defense, but they still did not retain him for the following year as well. But I know they cleaned house and all that. What up, Freddie B? 3 more games, man. We were just talking about it, dude. If they can pull it out, man, if they're 8-6 tonight, man, tomorrow morning's podcast, we're going to recap it. We're going to recap the game, all the fun stuff that went down the game, but we're also going to talk about the playoff scenarios, man. And we're going to talk about some interesting stuff that might be fun going forward. So I'm banking on that, man. I'm banking on that for, not only that, but so we can have a much more productive conversation after a big win, man. Because that's the thing, man. We got to get this thing. As much of an optimistic fan I am that optimistic fan who just I just can't give up. I just can't. I mean, there's time. Hey, man, we're still in this. I can't give up. Monday's over with. Monday was bad, man. Monday, that was a bummer day, man. Just knowing, like, after that 6-3 start, the reality starting to set in that this team had that shot to, and that would have been a big win. But this one tonight, man, you get to 8-6, man. Think a lot of things change. I like it. Fierce Raider dropped in the chat. I hope we end our season like we ended the Jets games, honestly. Yeah. And the Jets are looking like an 0-16 team. That's the crazy thing, man. They really do. They are really living up to that 0-16 hype. And I know we need some help, with Baltimore and all that. But also Cleveland, man. What do you guys think about Cleveland maybe dropping 2 out of 3, man? I think that's a possibility. And I'm only going to say it based off of history, man, because they are the Cleveland Browns. And, we can relate to that to a certain degree. Like, hey, the unfortunate situations. Like I said, I'm hoping that we can reverse our curse, knock on wood, baby. You know what I mean? Because we're basically been cursed at times. And so yeah, with all that, I'm hoping we can reverse some of that, man, and get back on track and drop it in there, man, and get that W and and create a whole new spark moving forward, man. But once again, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. And so I'm going to drop in the time right now. It is 11:30 a.m. here on the West Coast, man. We got in a good hour today. Shout out to all you guys, man. I'm Raider Dave out here in the IE, man. And we're going to fire up the grill real soon here, dude. Going to keep it simple, dude. Do some burgers. Oh, right on. Hey, so welcome Caleb into the chat. What's going down, Caleb? Raider Nation, baby. Raider Dave here, man. This GrimeCast Media, man. We've been around for a little bit, So yeah, man. Welcome to the chat, dude. It's a good positive community here, man. And we're being positive for tonight, man. We're hoping for 8-6. That'd be a big deal for us Raider fans. And yeah, man, we're just basically talking about some hurry up offense tonight, man. Some up tempo. We know Greg Olsen's not going to be in tonight's game, so that's been a little bit of the discussion today. Some of the injuries, the Chargers, they're banged up on the offensive side of the football. The Raiders, they're banged up on the defensive side of the football. Plus, they're without the services of Henry Ruggs tonight. So we're just kind of laying it all out. Some key points. The Raiders, I think their the biggest X factor from the defensive side of the football. They gotta get that Band-Aid on the run defense, man. They can't let Austin Eckler Eckler have a big game tonight. And then from the offensive side of the football, yeah, like I said, man, it's just going to be getting the football to your playmakers, man. Darren Waller, Nelson Aguilar, Zay Jones possibly stepping up today with that 4.4 speed, but running that hurry up tempo offense and just putting it all on John Gruden and Derek Carr today, because you don't have your signal caller out there with Greg Olsen, and they're just gonna have to put together that high tempo, kind of like that Rich Gannon style, man, where you just got to put all that confidence in Derek Carr, man, and see how them audibles shake out on the field, see what he sees on the field, and see if he can just completely dissect this defense and all that stuff, man. So much love, man. I hope you sub up, man. Off season, we keep pretty active in the off season, doing drafts, all that stuff, and yeah, man. And one thing, Freddie B, with the Giants getting that win, man, I know we're going to need them to get a couple wins actually for us, because I think they do. Because they got a couple key. I think they play the Ravens, but then they're going to play the Browns, I believe, or they're going to have another key matchup as well. And then here's another thing. The other thing is that they're without. I mean, I think Daniel Jones is still not completely cleared to play yet. He's not expected to play, I should say. But you never know in the NFL, man. You never know in the NFL who's going to step up. I wish I could, Fierce. I'm going to try that one time, man. I'm going to try that one time. He says, go live during the game. I will try one. I don't know if I could pull that off. I mean, I could actually, but I might just have to let it run and then go back and then come back, because my tonight's game's a primetime game. So it's going to be on the TV. And then I'll just kind of give you guys a lowdown, like as far as in the game's not on TV, I have I stream it on the computer. So if I could pull it off, I just want to make sure it's quality for you guys, man. I don't want to screw nothing up and waste anybody's time, but I could try to do that. Reactions are, of course you get that raw Raider Dave reaction, at the same time, but I'm a believer, man. I'm a believer. I don't walk away with, if the Raiders turn the football over or anything like that, I'm not a negative viewer, I should say. I'm constantly looking for solutions, and that's just sometimes how an NFL game goes, man. NFL is a roller coaster, man. It's a game of inches, man. And, from everything in the NFL, from fantasy football, just anything you do in this game is a game of inches. I got ousted, man. I'm out of the playoffs in my league because of a 14th of a point, but, and I appreciate you, Dominique, man. I appreciate you guys, man. Because like I said, man, I just like having a good, productive conversation. It's one of the reasons I started, doing this stuff a few years back, and I haven't really put, I put the work into it, but I don't put as much work as I could put into this. I like a good community and a good dialogue. Sometimes you see stuff on the internet and then there's the comment box and everybody's piling up. And I don't think everybody truly understands where everybody's coming from. I think it's good for all of us to get on these platforms, man, especially YouTube, which I think is a good platform, man. It's a good community of knowledge. And, I just think it's good for us to float, opinions and stuff like that, because it helps us see the big picture and what's going on. Not everybody's always going to be right or accurate on everything, but we're all going to be enjoying, the added information and what we're basically chopping up, man. Because, man, from going to the bars back in the day, like I said, I remember the first time I don't know if I ever said this on a live stream or on a podcast, but I'll never forget the first time. It was when the Raiders were in LA. It was like 95. I think it was it was an LA Raiders moment when an LA Raider fan, I'm an LA Raider fan as well. I'm a Southern California guy, but dude, he said he called the Broncos donkeys, dude. And that was the first time I heard that. I mean, maybe I was late to the game on that one. Maybe I was late to the show on that one, but I'll never forget when he was like, yeah, they're a bunch of donkeys. I was at a pizza place, dude. And I was like 17 years old, and I'm like, dude, that was the funniest thing I ever heard, So the smack talk back in the day to everything that we chop up now, man, I just love putting all that in one, man, and we can share our experiences and share, we're all in different locations throughout the world, man. I love that part of it as well. So yeah, man, I really do enjoy this, but I'm going to work on something like that, man. I will work on something like that. I might let this thing run later and just kind of pop back in, if I'm out in the living room and all that. Typically, I've been pretty good. Sometimes I'm able to fire up the grill, get everybody fed in the house before we jump on, or before the game starts. I've been pretty good this year at that. But I would love to, yeah, man, I'm going to figure something out. I'll figure something out for that and see, or maybe do a couple clips. Maybe I'll just get the phone out, do a couple clips. But I do got them IPAs, right now in the fridge. We're going Swamis. If you guys ever heard of Swamis, as a matter of fact, give me 1 second. I'm going to top off my coffee. I'm going to show you my beer for today, dude. It's the Swamis, IPA from Carlsbad, California. And, if you're ever in Southern California, man, hit up Encinitas, hit up Carlsbad, all those spots. Once everything hopefully reopens and everything's back and everybody's doing their thing and everybody's safe and all that stuff, man, Carlsbad, California, man, Swamis, dude, I'll tell you something about that place, dude. I went in there one time, man, I had the best cup of coffee I'd ever had, dude, and it was like $2. It wasn't like some crazy ass price for a cup of coffee, and they were just cool, dude. I showed up and they're like, yo, man, you want a cup? And the dude even asked me when I got there. He wasn't like, oh, what do you want or whatever. He was like, yo, dude, you want a cup of coffee while you're waiting? I'm like, did you just offer me a cup of coffee while I'm waiting? I'm like, hell yeah, dog. You know what I mean? Freaking poured me up a free cup of coffee, and I'm like drinking it like, yo, dude, this is the best coffee I ever had. So me and my daughter go back there every now and then when we're in the area. We get a cup of coffee, but I got their IPA today, and their IPA is pretty damn good. It's like a 6.7. It's a good pizza beer. But tonight we're doing burgers, man. We're doing some burgers, throwing some burgers on the grill. I'm going to go some tater tots, all that stuff, and keeping it simple, nothing fancy. And I got to chew right, dude. That tooth that was infected last week that I was on the Sunday live stream, and I think I was crying about my tooth. It was pussing, all that, and then the next morning it was throbbing. So I did the podcast, had it bounce out. Next thing you know, I go to the dentist. Cool dude. Pulls out the tooth for cheap, but he just goes, yeah, bro, I'm really sorry, but we got to yank this tooth, man. So that's a whole nother story. So I'm going to be chewing funny. And not only that, I did, I'm talking funny sometimes. So, but anyway, I'm going to take a break real quick. I will be right back. We'll chop up, drop some ideas in the chat. Let me know what you're thinking, man. Let me know. Hey, throw some ideas, throw some scenarios. What can this team do today, man? What's it going to be? What's it going to be, man? Are we going to see a completely different defense? I don't want to bank on that, but who's going to rise up? Because one thing they say about Rod Marinelli, and the reason for the switch is Gruden wanted a new voice. He wants new leadership. With new leadership, you never know what could spark up. You never know. Could you get who's going to step up? Like, is it Mo Hurst? I think Mo Hurst is slated as a starter today. Is it Mo Hurst? You know what I mean? Because I see good in Mo Hurst, man. I don't know. Nobody ever talks about him, but I see some good shit with Mo Hurst out there on the football field. I see a guy that's getting somewhat of penetration on the football field. Is Rod Marinelli going to get him to break out today and just have that nasty game where he's just going low on freaking Justin Herbert, man, getting him by the ankles and watching that tower of a quarterback go to the turf, man. You know what I'm saying? That guy's 6'6", 230 pounds, man. You got to get him to the turf, man. That guy will go down hard, dude. That guy will go down hard, rattle him good. This is a big team. This Charger team is a big team. I mean, when they got Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, they got that 6'9" or 6'8" tight end that they tried to get the game winner to, and Parham. Hunter Henry's I think he's like 6'4" or whatever, but he's a pretty quick tight end. I mean, this is a pretty tall football team, man. And so when you got a quarterback that's 6'6" and can scan the field, and all of that, he can run. But can our defense step up? Are we going to have that man up front that's going to get low and get that man to the turf, man, and rattle him pretty good? So it only remains to be seen, man, because there's so much, like I said, I'm imagining what could happen, hoping for what could happen. But one thing though, oh man, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about the playoffs, but man, it's been on my mind. Like, if the Raiders were the 7th seed, I would be totally game, dude, seeing a Pittsburgh Steeler Raider game in the playoffs. That would be something. That would be something, man. Or if the Kansas City Chiefs became the 2 seed and it was Raiders at Chiefs in the playoffs, I would be ecstatic for either one of those two. You're talking old school matchup right there, a throwback right there if that was to happen. But I don't want to talk too quick about that. What's up, Alexander? What's going down? The Raiders, baby. It's game day. Any playoff game, please. I know, man. I know. I have wishful thinking over here, and that is wrong on my part. I apologize for that. Here I am trying to think of rich Raider rivalries of the old school style, and here we need to figure out how to get in the playoffs, right? We got to figure out how to get in the damn playoffs. But one thing. See, I get ahead of myself a little bit here. But one thing though, man, if we can be 8-6, if we can get to 8-6 tonight, man. if we can get there, man, I'm chopping up. I'll talk playoffs all day tomorrow, all day. And Dominique dropped in the chat there as well. I want to see David Irving get on the field. I know he's had some moments on the field, but yeah, I want to see him break out. I want to see that athleticism and that talent that he has. And he, I'm glad you actually brought that up and popped that up in the stream here. I think that's a great take because, that's another guy that's familiar with Rod Marinelli. Not only that, you got a guy that is going to be, he's big. He's big with his hands up. I think he's like 7'5" when his hands are above his head. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, look that one up, but that's a key matchup in today's game because this is a tall Chargers team, man. This is a tall quarterback with Justin Herbert, who's 6'6". So when you're stunting on the line, I know I kind of sound like a broken record every now and then, but that stuff matters in these games, man. Sometimes it's disguising your looks from disguising your looks to your athletic personnel, your athleticism and your personnel on the field, how they can confuse a quarterback, how they can create different looks. And David Irving is that prototype. He is that prototype. And he's been back now here for about 5 weeks, so he should be primed and ready to go. And he's had some moments on the field where he's had a couple tackles, he's gotten his shot. So yeah, man. So I'm all for that, man. Okay, and then let's go here. Yeah, Fierce Raider. I completely agree. One thing I'm looking for is a change in the defense is the position of the players. I want to see Joyner at free safety. And I know I read an article this morning about what was it? It was on USA Today, I think, and they were talking about LaMarcus Joyner being that guy that, he's so familiar in the nickel slot. Well, that's not his true spot, so they were talking about what Marinelli would do to shake up the defense. But I completely agree. He should have always been at free safety. And we've even put him at free safety, and you see the difference already. You just go look at his PFF grade, man. It shows, man. He is more effective as a free safety. As to why he's a nickel, beyond me. And maybe in situations he could be a nickel corner in situational football, but not your all-time nickel corner, because you got to mix that up as well. Because you saw last week when you have a nickel back out there, you're compensating the loss of a linebacker on the field, and it showed last week. Got 8 up in the run. And I think that's where Gunther really, because you guys were right. We're all right with Gunther gone, all that. He had to go, all that. Check this out. His defense was exposed in that Jets game and in this last game against the Colts, because in those two different games, the nickel corner was getting creamed in the blocks. And, and that's because of, at the wrong time, just the wrong, you guessed at the wrong time, man. And you switched up your personnel at the wrong time. And so let me go here. Let's see here. So Alexander Sockton, we're going to follow up with your comment here. How do we rebound after Gunther, man? Great question. We got to know how that affected. Let me keep that up there. My bad. We got to know how that affected the locker room. And I think it all comes down to how the locker room responds to that. Because, once again, Gunther, he had his a little over 2.5 seasons to prove himself. What was going on in the locker room, I don't think it's anybody's guess, I believe, because, there could have been rumblings from players, could have been from coaching, pressure from the outside, pressure from Mark Davis, which is what a lot have rumored to be. But how do we rebound, man? I really think that comes down to the players and the coaches and how they're going to respond once something like that happens in a locker room where you shake up the personnel. Because once when somebody gets fired, now everybody has to take a step back and look and hold themselves accountable for their performance and their actions on the field, I should say. But it definitely showed that Paul Gunther had lost this defense, and it was showing. I know his defense had been horribly bad throughout, but these last 4 weeks, I'm going to throw that stat out there again, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the last 4 weeks, that defense gave up 37.5 points. And, that's your kicker right there. And then you saw the worst performance of the defense since this John Gruden return. You saw the worst performance from the defense last week against the Colts. They were exposed beyond. So, and let me go to real time Raiders. What's up, brother? What's going down real time? How you doing today, brother? Let's go. I see you, Grimy. What's up? I see you too, brother. How you doing, man? Cheers to a Thursday. Get that caffeine in your system. You know what I'm saying? And soon to be soon to be, as long as you're not on the clock and the boss is okay. Soon we're going to be cracking some brews here, and we're going to get live. We're going to get loud. We're going to make sure the neighbors know who we are over here in the neighborhood. They already know. Yeah. If just in case, so you guys don't know, man, everybody here, dude, if I walk out to my front freaking door, dude, and I'll be freaking heading out to work or whatever, Raider Dave, I get that shit. My neighbor, I don't know what team he is. He's either a Charger fan or a Rams fan, one of the two, but he's a cool dude. But he's always yelling Raider Dave, and they're all, so I have to answer to whether the Raiders are good or bad. So it becomes a whole neighborhood discussion. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey Dave, what happened or whatever, so I'll get that shit, every now and then. But yeah, and exactly, Fierce, right to the point. This fool Paul Gunther had Joyner playing in the box, knowing Joyner is 5'8" and barely 100 pounds. I mean, dude, I mean, like I said, none of us could really figure that out from the day that they signed LaMarcus Joyner. From the day they signed him, man, it was like, and that was one thing when they signed him in the free agent preview a couple years ago that I did. Man, I was showing how LaMarcus Joyner could track. He was really known for tracking the football, whether it was batting down a pass or getting that INT. No matter what, he's good at scanning the football field, playing center field, dropping back, and keeping everything in front of him. And I don't know why. I don't know why. Once again, it's that league of overthinking, man. It's like overthinking, but what's crazy is, and you guys already know the definition of insanity. Basically, it was the definition of insanity. He kept doing what didn't work. And I don't understand why. I just don't understand why, man. So yeah, man. Yeah, no, and thank you guys, man. I see thanks for pointing that out. Man, no worries, bro. Look, no, thank you guys, man, for jumping up in here and chopping it up, man. Having a good time on a Thursday, man. It's I mean, no, next year, man. Who knows? We might be doing this 5, 6, 7 days a week, man. The NFL, they're looking at the NFL is looking at possibly having more weekday games. And also another thing, I didn't talk about this in just NFL news. They're actually talking about adding another game. So we'll have an 18-week season. So there'll be 17 games. So they've already got that other playoff game, the 7th seed added in that thing. So, which is good, man, because now number 2 seed don't get a bye week no more. So number 2 seed's got to play that 7th seed, but still, man, it gives us more football. It really, we all love this game, man. And this game is, and us fans and all of us, it's our childhood game, and that as grown men we get to watch professionally, man. So we want more football, man. We want more football, and this is the NFL's the biggest sport, for all of us, man. I mean, I'm a baseball fan, a basketball fan, you name it, but nothing compares to a week, do or die situations, I should say. Baseball, you get the 7-game series. Basketball, you get the 7-game series, all that in the playoffs. I mean, NFL is do or die, man. NFL is do or die. So that's what we love about it, man. That's what I love about it, man. So yeah, man, let me see here in there. And good point. Because that was when they did put him in at free safety. Yeah, exactly. And there was other times too. They actually had him in there. I forget which game he played a big role earlier as well, at free safety as well. It was during an injury. But let me see here. And great point. My thing by Dominique 5. My thing is Gruden is the head coach. He should have put Joyner at safety. Absolutely. I mean, all of us were begging for it, man. We were all begging for it. And your nickel back. I mean, if our nickel backs are going to get creamed that much, I'd rather it be a Meek Robertson getting that NFL experience, getting that exposure, and seeing, because he has more of the ability to jump a route that I think LaMarcus Joyner would. So if you're going to take that risk with a smaller corner, you're going to go the nickelback, then I'd rather see a Meek Robertson out there, even though he has been burned and all that, but he's more likely to have a game-changing play and jump a route. And then on top of that, you have 2 corners out there, because Trayvon Mullen's that guy that I always feel sits in the zone. And he's another guy that can literally get in front of a receiver, read the quarterback's eyes, and possibly get that route. Get in front of that receiver and get that pick 6 or a big play for defense, man. So I think that's going to be something moving forward, man. We're going to see, man. And so yeah, today, man, it's such a big it's a lot of gray area going into tonight's game, man, because we got like you had brought up earlier, man. We're going to have to see how this team responds to everything that's happened. I mean, because a lot has happened since the loss versus the Colts. You know, the Gunther firing. You have Henry Ruggs being ruled out. You have Greg Olsen, as news to this morning, ruled out as an offensive coordinator. So there's still all these events that have taken place. And not only that, all the injuries on defense, man, because all the injuries have mounted into this situation that we're in right now. You're not getting Cleveland Farrell today. We've seen the difference that he's made on the field. You're not getting Nicholas Morrow today. No Jonathan Abram. One thing, though, I think with Jonathan Abram, though, man, is even leading up to last year's game, maybe he was that guy that might have to be a healthy scratch at some point just to get him to reset, unless it was something between him and Gunther, because he just looked a little defiant, a little undisciplined out there. And once again, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Jonathan Abram. So let's see here. What do you got here? Got real time over here with a comment. Let's see. And okay, let me go in order here. So Fierce Raider set it off here with Gunther really hindered the development of Meek Robertson. Completely agree, man. That guy could have been a second-round pick, man. Why not give him plenty of experience on the field? I mean, he did get burned early in the season, and it's like they didn't really give him that many looks. And as well as Isaiah Johnson as well, man, I would love to see him, get more action out there, man. Now, Fierce, and then he followed up with Fierce Raider, Real-Time Raiders. I'm with you, despite we already know. I'm still trying to stay excited for this team. The Raiders make me crazy. I know that's the hard part, man. That is the hard part. It's like because I'm that fan that believes, I'm that fan that believes. And, it is, man. It can make you crazy, man, because, gosh, man, it's like through all this losing, dude, like I still yeah, man, I just look like I still buy rookie cards. Like I got my Henry Ruggs rookie, my Brian Edwards rookie, all my Derek Carr rookie, my Khalil Mack rookies, all the jerseys, man. I got Khalil Mack jerseys hanging up in there. Josh Jacobs, Henry Ruggs, Darren McFadden's. Darren McFadden I thought was going to be like the next Adrian Peterson. I won't lie, man. When he ran a 4.340, I was like, that guy's built like Adrian Peterson, dude. Except with, he runs a second faster than him. I thought big things about him, man. It's hard, man, because you're believing. And then we were talking earlier about the most unfortunate situations, the 2011 year, man, where you're lose to the Chargers, and that's your AFC West right there. 2016, Derek Carr breaks his legs versus the Colts. The following week 17, they get Denver. I know it's Matt McGloin, but it's also Trevor Siemian. We can't get that win. That's for the AFC West. That is for the AFC West, man. And let me put it this way. The last time we won the AFC West was 2002. If they get that 2011, they get that 2016, you get a West title somewhere in between, it's a little less painful, but it's more painful when I freaking have to, the reality sets in my head and I go, and I don't mean to saying I was at that game when they won the West, when Bill Romanowski stood up to the black hole, dude, after that Brian Greasy sack. I was in the opposite end in Oakland Coliseum, Networks Associates Coliseum, and that black hole rose up, dude. And that was the last time they won the AFC West. I was in that stadium, man. It still eats at me that they have not won the West since then. And some of it is due to unfortunate situations, and all that with the, Derek Carr breaking his leg, all that. But man, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's pain. That's pain, man. But it's also dedication. It also shows loyalty. So that's another thing I've always had to, as much as it's painful and as much as if it's frustrating and all that, one thing to always do is look in the mirror and be like, hey, you know what, man? One thing we can hang our hat on all day is that we are loyal. We are loyal to this team, man. We are loyal. And when that day comes, and I'm praying it comes, when that day comes, it's going to be one hell of a celebration. It's going to be real as ever. It's going to be felt worldwide. And who knows what that turns into. If they could just get a taste and get back in this era, man, this Raider team in this era of this whole new decade that's ahead, if this team could somehow become something special and something historical, something to where it's like you could look back, 20 years from then, or 20 years later, and be like, dude, I remember that Raider team, man. I remember those 18 years of shit that we went through, man. And they all of a sudden just got back on track and boom, you're good. You know, you have that history. You could write a book. Basically, you know what could happen if that happens? Once the Raiders, once they write this thing and they become a Super Bowl contender and start winning Super Bowls again, I think every Raider fan, not just certain Raider, I think every Raider fan should write a book on that freaking 20-year period, man. I think that's a good idea. What do you think? I think we could all write a book, and it would be interesting, man. I mean, literally, like every Raider fans should write a book, and it would be a bestseller worldwide, because every fan would need to know that to be on that level of loyalty. You know what I'm saying? Loyalty, baby. So let's get into some comments here. Yeah, we're feeling pain, babe. We're feeling pain. Let's see here. So Fierce Raider, I saw us run a 3-4 against the Chiefs, and we got a lot of pressure on Mahomes. Then the next week, our defense reverted back to the same old Gunther defense, 4-3 defense. Yeah, they gave him a lot of different looks. I think they only blitzed 3% of that game. They basically, it's almost like they had a couple spies on Mahomes as well. It's more like they were watching him. They were able to contain him. But you are right, man. There was a lot of different looks, man, on that defense. Some looking like a 3-4 at times. And, you know, it was crazy with the Paul Gunther defense. We didn't see too much 5-2 because, you know. Oh, okay. Let's get to a really good question here. Fierce Raider. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't cut that off too soon. Okay. Raider Dave, do you believe we can win a Super Bowl with Derek Carr as our QB and John Gruden as our head coach? Yes, I do. Yes, I do, and I'm going to say why. I'm going to say because everything, and that's a great question, and I don't want to get too ahead of, but I do think we can. I think the stars definitely need to align in that situation. And I can't say that it's like something needs to happen, man. But like, okay, so Derek Carr has the arm. We see that. We see Derek Carr has the arm. He has the comeback victories. He has the will to win. But there still is some concern, man, with turning the football over, man, whether it's Derek Carr's fault or not. You know, like I'll use the interception to Jalen Richard, man. You know, that's most likely on Jalen Richard because ball hits him in the hands, pops straight up in the air. They get a pick six, all that. Oh, that's not Derek's fault. Well, here's where Derek, and like I said, I'm not in that locker room, but I could be completely wrong. But this is where, like, something where you hold players accountable, you know, your whole team, whether it's your defense. So Derek Carr getting the ear of the defense, like, hey, we got to get this win. We need to stop. You know, I think it could happen. I'm gonna put it that way. I think it could happen, and I think it's right now. It's our best shot because, you know, Derek Carr knows the offense. You know, I don't. You know, every NFL player wants to win the Super Bowl. You know, I definitely think it could happen, man. It's just I'm trying to find the right formula to put it all together. I think it comes down to a moment, dude. I've always been big on a moment, like it's got to be maybe Derek Carr gets a cheap shot. You know, maybe Derek's, you know, decides to run it in the end zone or something. He gets hit in the helmet. They goes on concussion protocol for like during the game. Then he comes back in the game, or I'll put it this way, like a toughness situation. Maybe breaks his left wrist or whatever, the opposite wrist of his throwing hand, like kind of like similar. I'll use Rich Gannon as a situation, man. Remember when Rich Gannon broke his left wrist, his non-throwing wrist, in a Week 4 matchup early on in his Raider career? It was against the Jets, I think, and they just after that. He played lights out, man. Sometimes a moment in the NFL is all it takes. I'm going to use Russell Wilson as an example. Remember Russell Wilson, first year with the Seahawks? He had that bomb in the end zone against Green Bay. They weren't expected to win. That changed everything for the Seahawks from that day forward, man. Russell Wilson became the leader of that team and all that. And I still think even in year 7 with Derek Carr, a moment could still change something. Like, for instance, like, if something somehow this team found their way into the playoffs when I'm talking low odds, like, oh, dude, it's down to like this team, like they need this scenario to happen for them to get in the playoffs. And somehow they eke their way into that situation. They're facing the Steelers or the Chiefs in that first round of the playoffs. They edge it. They get it as a 7th seed. And they face Mahomes or Roethlisberger. Both got a ring. Both are Super Bowl. Somehow Somehow, maybe Derek doesn't even win that game. Maybe the defense wins that game. And then all of a sudden, something lights up in Derek Carr. John Gruden's got that fire going. Something like that, where you make a run to get that thing, and you win a Super Bowl. And Derek Carr gets a Super Bowl, and John Gruden gets a Super Bowl. But I'll end it to answer your question. To answer your question, is John Gruden and Derek Carr capable of winning a Super Bowl? Yes, they are. But for them to win a Super Bowl, and I'm going to go by what my uncle said my whole life, dude, and he's from Philadelphia. He's an Eagles fan, man. And he told me this: if it's your year, it's your year. Because them Eagles, man, they did not think they were going to win a Super Bowl, but they did. Just like the New York Giants, man, they beat Eli Manning and Tom Coughlin, beat the 19-0, or what is it, 18-0 New England Patriots when nobody thought they were having. Randy Moss broke Jerry Rice's records that year. I mean, freaking Tom Brady had like 50-plus touchdowns, and that team got beat in the Super Bowl by the New York Giants. And after they had won in Green Bay, I mean, I never seen a man's face so chapped. And Tom Coughlin, man, his whole face was like frostbite. And I was like, damn, dude, that guy's getting tortured out there in the snow right there. But that guy won the Super Bowl. And my cousin, he's from New York. He's a New York Giants fan. So I have family from all over. So there's fans all over. I mean, more than half the family's Raider fans and all that. You know, we got some Rams fans, Charger fans. We're Southern California out here. But there's family from all over. So we have, you know, it's like a lot of fans in our family. But I was with him when they won that Super Bowl. And I was laughing the whole time during that Super Bowl. Both Super Bowls, actually, I was with him. Because Eli Manning was doing whatever it took to win. Everybody laughs at Eli Manning, and I laugh at Eli Manning all the time. But that man on that play, you know, the David Tyree, boom, just caught that football in his helmet. Shit like that happens, man. That's how teams win Super Bowls, man. That's how this thing gets done, man. And, you know, last year was a little bit more scripted. You knew it was Mahomes and those guys. They were going to probably win the Super Bowl because, you know, they got close the year before. And that's just something we really haven't seen in the NFL. But I do think they can win a Super Bowl. I just think things need to line up. I think that happens for every team, though. I think things need to go. It needs to be your year, and things need to go your way, and you need luck. Luck is involved in this thing, man. You need things to go your way. Now, one thing I know, I can't remember his damn name, dude. We got John Hussey, the referee, the NFL referee. He's that's the crew for tonight. Keep in mind one thing, knock on wood, I'm going to break that curse. The Raiders are 0-4 when he officiates game, and he's a prick. He's another one of them prick Raider-hating referees, so that's another thing to keep in mind tonight. But once again, I'm going to figure out a way to break that curse as well. I don't know what I'm going to have to do, but whatever it takes to break the curse, we're just going to start with knock on wood, man, roll with what Gruden rolls with here. So let's get to another comment here, man. We got Caleb in the house. Caleb Landry, let's see. If our defense just looks terrible and we lose, do we get upset with Marinelli or wait until really next week to judge him? I think we should wait. Definitely, man. I'm not that guy that's going to pile on Rod Marinelli, man. He's a proven coach in this league. He's got a solid resume, man. He's not your rock star defensive coordinator, but he's going to bring some energy. He's going to bring just what Gruden said, that new voice. He's going to have some powerful message. He's going to have a powerful message for this defense, man. He's going to have a powerful message for him. But as far as him being that rock star, you know, hey, man, I hope he is. I mean, the guy's had head coaching experience. He's been through the ringer in the NFL, but he also has, you know, that relationship with John Gruden, and what philosophies behind that, how that's going to be implemented today. I don't know. And it is a rush. It's a rush situation. I mean, he's not getting a full defense. He's not getting, you know, he's without their first round draft pick in Damon Arnett, 19th overall pick. So yeah, man, it's definitely, it would be unfair. It would actually be unfair. And it'd be unfair to judge, Rod Marinelli at this point, man, with so much little time to prepare, but he's been on the roster all year. But yeah, okay, yeah, exactly. Yeah, there we go. Let's get to that too. And but I definitely, man, I'm not a guy that expects immediate results from Rod Marinelli today. You know, I want to. All I want to see is what you know, if there's a different spark, if there's a different level of enthusiasm out of this team to get this win, man. And not saying that this team is not enthusiastic. I'm just saying like how they can carry that on throughout the entire NFL game, because every team comes out pumped up, ready to go. Let's get this win. It's how you manage that roller coaster of an NFL game, because it happens to every team. Not every team wins. Not every team in the NFL wins games with ease. Every team has a roller coaster ride throughout an NFL game, man. And there's moments. Most time it's in the last 2 minutes. It's how you close a half, and it's how you close the game, man. And in between, it's how you make adjustments. So So that's the key. The key, what I'm going to look for with Rod Marinelli is how he makes adjustments throughout the game with this defense versus a Chargers offense that's a little banged up and a young quarterback. So I'm real interested to see how he lines up with that, but definitely will be fair as far as judgment goes, man, because judgment's a hard one anyway, man. Judgment's something I worked on when I turned age 30. I learned, hey, you know what, man? I try to assess a situation. However, judging is a little deep. But I try to assess it because one thing I've learned to be as a human being is just less judgmental because I don't walk in another man's shoes just like another man doesn't walk in my shoes. And I've always felt that's deep, man, because you just never know. Everybody has their own story. And, I think all of our story is special to a certain degree with human beings, man, how we share our information and all that stuff, man. It's just it's a cool thing, man, how it all comes together. But yeah, I've definitely worked on that. Last 12 years of my life being less judgmental, man, because I know I get judged. We all get judged. And then again, it's like, well, wait, man, have you walked in my shoes? I haven't walked in your shoes, so I don't know, So, all right. So let's get into here. Let me get one more. And another great comment by Caleb Landry. We got 2016. Carr broke his finger against the Panthers in that Panthers game and finished the game. Exactly, man. I remember that was the pinky when Rodney Hudson hiked it to him and the pinky went. I was worried about Carr, man, because I was on his throwing hand. They had to run the pistol offense the entire year. Now that Bill Musgrave, man, that's a guy, man, that made the adjustment throughout the season, and that proved to be successful, man, because Carr, the pinky went sideways. They had to pop it back in. He came back in. It was one of the unfortunate freak situations. And like I said, that a situation like that happens and it changes. And I'm glad, I've totally spaced that one, great comment. And, like that situations like that you think are where it makes things start to look bleak and you're like, holy shit, he just broke his penis. Great. Our quarterback's going, on a freak accident. Rodney Hudson of all people's hiking the ball to him and his pinky goes sideways. Who the hell would have predicted that? But you know what? Things like that happen in the NFL and it creates that run where it's like, hey, man, this might be your year, man, because something lit up under this team and something's starting to click. And that pistol offense that they ran, man, was, a great way to adjust throughout the system or throughout the season to where they implemented a system that was successful in getting wins. And I remember, I'll never forget, man, because I was at that Chargers game, the last San Diego Charger game versus the Oakland Raiders. We scored tickets, dude, and we went to that game. Dude, and I free tickets. I'll never forget. Went to that game, dude. And I watched Carr operate out of the pistol the whole game, man, going, one more week. And if Carr gets under center, man, things are going to change. And I'll never forget that sweet pass to Crabtree in the side of the end zone. Crabtree had the sweet feet with the sweet hands, man. That was a sick game. But then the following week, we get the Colts at home, man. Carr is a general in that game, man. That was Derek Carr. One of Derek Carr's, aside of him getting hurt in that game, that was one of his better games because I felt like he had full control. DeAndre Washington was killing it. The offensive line was dialed in. But those are the moments, man. And unfortunately, the biggest letdown was what happened at the end of the game on Christmas Eve. But great point. I'm glad you brought that up because it's stuff like that happens that can change everything in a game, man. I appreciate you, Fierce. Right on, man. I appreciate the feedback on that. It also pops in with a question. Do you ever think John Gruden will get rid of Greg Olsen? I think it's, yeah, I do. I would like to see, like we had talked about earlier, I would like to see, let me get to your second statement here so I can follow up with that because I think it would all tie in a lot better. Gruden cannot coach this team forever. At some point, he's going to have to groom up a young offensive coordinator to be the head coach, in my opinion. That's exactly how I feel. That is exactly how I feel. This 10-year commitment that John Gruden signed with the Raiders, 3 years into this thing, I think that's the ultimate goal, dude. It's the ultimate goal to build that Holmgren legacy, that tree that Gruden came off of. Gruden has to build his own legacy, man. And I think part of building his legacy is, getting young, good, coaches under him and grooming them to be head coaches. And maybe they go off and be a head coach but no matter what, a system that starts to produce a philosophy of football that is meant for this Raider organization for years to come. So where Gruden becomes the general manager, who knows? With that contract, probably part owner, who knows? I mean, just crazy the way they signed him and the way they brought him in and a lot of it has to do with enthusiasm with us fans. This stuff right here. This stuff that us fans kind of get wrapped up in, like that fun stuff, so, but the fact of the matter is identity, enthusiasm, what gets us fans to tick, what gets this team to click and to win and all that. So I think that's a great point, but that's exactly how I felt when they first hired Gruden. Like, this is going to be a long-term process, and it's going to be a philosophy that's going to have to evolve for many years to come. Once again, what Gruden has up his sleeve for an offensive coordinator that could come up, I personally think he needs to get a proven offensive well, maybe a young offensive coordinator, since he's an offensive guy, but we talked about Wade Phillips, and most likely it probably wouldn't happen, but hopefully, I mean, Gruden would be on board with something like that, but get a Wade Phillips in for maybe 2 years, and then you could bring up a defensive coordinator down the road who has a similar style to Wade Phillips, or could adapt into that and maybe, tweak it out a little bit to where it's a little bit more of for that guy's philosophy as he evolves in the league. So a lot to come, but yeah, I think a lot of the more youth they bring in, and the more guys that they have, as far as like, because Gruden had that. Remember, like when they hired Gruden, he has that coaching clinic that he had in Tampa Bay. I'm interested on if that resource is still even available, if Gruden still has something to do with that, or if that's some kind of separate entity that he has on the side. But that was something that always interested me. It was that coaching clinic that they talked about how Gruden had, and I think that's where he got the philosophy of bringing in a guy like Paul Guenther, who was supposed to be a sleeper as well. But you just knew, man, once you saw a couple of years, and even in the year 3 with Guenther, man, it was like nothing was going to change. And then you just go down and look at his resume, dude, and like, he really didn't do anything in this league. I'm sure, he's going to have to start back up as a positions coach, if you were to ask me. But maybe he maybe he goes with the Vikings and goes back to Mike Zimmer, because that's basically what's on his resume, is that he's a product of his defense. But other than that, I mean, and then the fact that he had a nasty defense, I think in 2015, that nasty defense that you saw in the playoffs versus Pittsburgh, where Vontaze Burfict's laying out the hits on Antonio Brown, and they had Pac-Man Jones. They had a nasty defense, but other than that, he really didn't prove anything in the league as far as like a game changing, a guy that could like draw up a defense that's going to confuse a Hall of Fame quarterback or anything like that. So, but yeah, I agree, man. I think the long haul is bringing in the young bucks and getting that offense lit up. Now one thing, with them trying to win a Super Bowl and all that, I think what helps Carr as well. I think what's helped Carr in general this year, dude, is having Mariota as a backup. I know Mariota's been spotty. I know he didn't win the position, but I think having a little bit of pressure in that locker room, adding another quarterback, I think that creates a lot of pressure. So I think that's just the thing going forward, man. To get for this offseason, I think adding players at every position at all times, continually to build the roster, and move forward. So yeah, man. But yeah, so as far as going into tonight, man, I'm getting a little fired up, man. I'm definitely awake and good to go, man. Like yesterday, I woke up sore, dude. Oh man, dude, I woke up sore, man. I've been going to the gym and all that, and I'm getting challenged with some of these workouts, man. So it's like, man, I was sore, but today, man, I woke up fired up, man. It's game day, man. And that's another thing. I don't think that'll ever change, man. I don't think that'll ever change with us Raider fans. A lot of us, I've always been called Delusional Dave. Like, oh, there's Raider Dave again. He thinks they're going to win the Super Bowl. Every year you say they're going to win the Super Bowl. Every year you say this. Every year you say that. Every year this and that, dude. Blah, 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 blah. And out here in Southern California, man, I got these Niner fans calling me up, like personal friends of mine for many years, and they follow up with me on Mondays. I get tortured. My voicemail is loaded with a bunch of haters, and but I just can't, man. I just can't give up, man. So like as far as today goes, going into tonight, man, I'm fired up, man. I believe this team's going to get it done. It's just something that will never change. I'm not doing it to be a hype guy. That's one thing I want to always let you guys know, man. I'm not here to be a hype guy. I'm here just to chop up some football, man, and get into each other's minds, dude, and talk about what our thoughts are and what we're thinking with this game coming up, man, and I'm always hoping it's positive, man, but just because when I go on Facebook, like I said, I got a little perturbed at times, dude, reading some comments and interacting with some fans that were just calling Henry Ruggs a bust. And I just think that's too vanilla. I think that's too soon. And, there's just certain things. I know we all want results overnight in the NFL. That's the thing. NFL stands for not for long. And, you got to get it done. Nice. I love it. Real-time Raider dropping the comedy in here. Let's do this. Got my pace maker ready to go, baby. Ready to go. Dialed in. Hey, dialed in, baby. Woo. And we gotta get it done. We gotta get it done, man. And that's what it's all about. We gotta be all in tonight, man. Who is that? Who is that on this team that wants to get this done? Who is that guy? Who is it? Derek Carr, man. Is Derek Carr gonna lay it all out in that locker room today? Like, hey, man, whether you give me a clean pocket to throw out of, because that's like another stat that they keep talking about. Well, here's Derek Carr in a clean pocket, and here's what happens when the pocket starts to break down. Regardless if you give Derek Carr a clean pocket or not, we're getting this win. Regardless if Josh Jacobs has 2 yards of carry or 6 yards of carry, we're getting it done. Regardless if Darren Waller, has a drop or two, key drop in this game, we're getting it done. Regardless if anybody has a bad game, we're getting it done. No matter what, find a way to win. You found a way to win this, to beat this team, in week 8 when we played them? Week 8, I believe, when we played the Chargers and we won on the last second of the game. It looked like they won the game. They were celebrating a victory. Continued to deflate this team. That play, that fact that Mike Williams could not come up with the touchdown for his rookie quarterback. I mean, his head hit the ground pretty hard, and you got the length of Isaiah Johnson there creating a little havoc. The fact that, was it Donald Parham, the tight end, the backup tight end that went in there, and they went to him, 6'8", I believe he is, goes up high, gets the ball, comes down, enough from Isaiah Johnson in play 2 and on the last play, just to get that pass to break up and the ball hits the ground, you name it. That deflated that team. That is a deflating moment for a football team to go into a locker at the professional level, for a rookie quarterback to go into the locker room as a loss. Like, hey, we could have beat the Raiders. We could have shown up. We could have won. We could have beat the Raiders in LA in our house. Instead, it's the opposite. The Raiders get that big win in LA. A lot of us are LA Raider, Oakland Raider throughout our lifetimes. That's a big win for the Raiders, and that was a deflating loss for the Chargers. So this game, you got to continue to take every bit of air out of this team, man. Every bit of air out of this team. So I believe Josh Jacobs is healthy this week. I can check my phone. I got my phone in my pocket here. I'll double check because I do got him in a fantasy league. So I'll double check and see what they're saying. But I'm pretty sure Josh Jacobs is questionable, I believe. But he's not fully healthy. But I'm sure he will play. I mean, there are still playoff implications in this game. You're without Henry Ruggs. So I'm hoping Josh Jacobs plays and suits up tonight, man, because he is needed. Whether he is healthy or not, he's got to be on the field, man, because not only that, pass protection, man. I think Josh Jacobs, a lot of people don't give him enough recognition in pass protection. Josh Jacobs is a big part of keeping Derek Carr clean in the pocket. So I'm hoping, I got my fingers crossed, Josh Jacobs will suit up tonight, man, because not only do we need his services, we need him as a blocker, as a receiver, and as a running back, man. And we need him when we get in the red zone. Somehow, like we had talked about, John Gruden's got to get creative, man. When you get to the 3-yard line, man, you got to make sure that's 6-7 points, not settling for field goals, man. And hopefully we can step all over this team, man. Now, a big statement game tonight, anything, like I said, anything to get us fired up going into Friday, and then we can just watch. See, here's a cool thing about Thursday night game, man. It's been a rough week so far. Thursday night football with a win could change everything. We're going into the weekend. Hey, man, we're 8-6. We're going to see what the Colts do. We're going to see what the Browns do. We're going to see what the Baltimore Ravens. If the Giants could beat the Ravens, we're going to look at all these things so much differently if we get that win tonight, man. So yeah, man. So I'm going to probably tap out. We went almost 2 hours today. And I'm getting that little energy back, man. But just so you guys know, man, the years past, we've done live streams where we play music, all that fun stuff, man. It's been a minute, and I have not been as proactive as I should be on here. And but I got a little bit more set up, a little bit easier now. The green screen, I just roll it across the room, and I can just freaking fire up the camera and go from there, man. But yeah, and I'll work on that fierce, man, when it comes to live streaming during games. I'm going to try to get creative on how we're going to do that. And for anybody that was new in here, man, welcome. Caleb Landry, I appreciate you dropping in here, man, and tapping in with the community. Just so you know a little bit about me as a Raider fan, before the Raiders announced their move to Vegas, I've always been a Vegas guy. I'm a Southern California guy out here in the IE. Dude, I can drive 3.5 hours to Vegas. Vegas is like like my playground, dude. I love Vegas, and I'm not like the biggest gambler or anything. I'm just a guy that likes to go. I just like, I like food. I like people. I like a lot of things, man. And I love sports, you name it. And here's the thing, dude, is that, and Freddie B, man, I'm going to see you in Vegas one day, brother. We're going to live it up Raider style, man. I cannot wait to see you guys, man, and meet you guys in person, man, and go to a tailgate, go to that freaking beautiful stadium, dude. I was kicked off that lot the year that they broke ground, like the day before they broke ground. I got hey, right here, I'll show it to you. You guys want to hear something funny, dude? And I even did a video on it back then. That video I still have saved, but this is a sandstone from the center of the stadium where they were going to break ground the day before they had the gold shovels, all that. I mean, I go to Vegas like 3-4 times a year. Vegas is, like I said, my second home, my playground. My wife loves Vegas. My wife loves football as well. So that's a great thing for a relationship and all that. So we just love to watch Raider football, go to the freaking Vegas, all that stuff. So got some good spots out there. O'Shea's a bar I highly recommend. Freaking right around the corner, actually, from Stage Door to Casino, which is holds it down as a Raider bar as well, a Raider spot. But O'Shea's right around the corner. Great people, craps table right there in the center of the spot. So I love Vegas, man. And so when the Raiders announced they were moving to Vegas, and everybody in here in Southern California, just throughout California, man, was pissed. They were pissed, like, oh, Vegas, this and that. And I'm like, hey, dude, I'm over it, dude. They've been trying to get a stadium since Al Davis, man. LA tried to get a stadium. Oakland forever tried to get a stadium. All these promises that were broken. And I was like, just wait, man. Vegas ain't bad, man. Vegas is going to embrace this fan base. Vegas is going to embrace this organization. Trust me, man. So when they announced they were going to Vegas, I was over it in 5 minutes. I was pissed off. I don't like Stan Kroenke. I don't like Dean Spanos. I thought that what they did was I just felt like what Stan Kroenke did to the fans in St. Louis was sleazy. The way he did things, I just don't like that. I just don't like those guys. I don't like other teams. I'll just put it that way. I mean, there's certain teams I have respect for. That's a whole nother discussion for a whole nother day. But man, Vegas is a great spot. But one thing about this rock, though, back then when I got it, I'll never forget, man, because like, dude, you had like it was like government vehicles showing up like, hey, what are you doing? Like I went through the chain link vents, everything, dude. And like, there was they were like, yo, you got to get out of here now, dude. And I just took off running with that rock, man. And that's like my little prized possession right there. So, hey, we're going to use the rock today, baby. Knocking on wood. Hey, whatever it takes, man. I'm going to say a prayer. That's what I'm gonna do for tonight, man. I'm gonna do whatever it takes, man. Whatever it takes, man. And get that, man. Right, Chucky? We're getting this, baby. We're getting this, Chuck. All right, you guys. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you, Freddie B, man. Yeah, man. You guys, man. We'll get back in the groove. We'll get back in the groove, and then we'll chop it up. But tomorrow morning, keep an eye out for tomorrow morning. Do a quick podcast in the morning. It'll be a recap in the game, and hopefully we're positioned. We're in position tomorrow for a playoff run, man, because I'm going to break down some scenarios that are going to be really interesting and really fun, and hopefully everything goes our way. Oh, Fierce, hold up. Let me get a swig of water real quick. You want a Raiders? Yeah. Raiders. You know what I'm saying, dude? Hey, man. Hey, how many times I've lost my voice in those stadiums, man. Love it, baby. Love it, man. Much love, guys. I'm rocking the Derek Carr jersey all the way through and through, baby. That's our quarterback. Let's get it done, man. Hey, the NFL, one game at a time. Do or die, baby. Never stop believing. I know it's bleak looking. When you look too far ahead, it gets bleak. But if we keep it one game at a time, I think you put that in the chat or in the comment last time, Fierce. One game at a time, baby. One game at a time, baby. You know what I'm saying? So I'm fired up. I appreciate you guys, man. Till then, it's go Raiders. It's go Raiders. Let's get it, baby. Let's get it. 3-game winning streak as we speak right now versus the Chargers. Let's make it 4. Let's get number 4 tonight. 8-6, baby. 8-6 would feel really good. And you know what? And celebrating with an IPA would even feel better. You know what I'm saying? So I hope you get the grill hot. I hope you fired up. I hope you freaking have a great night, man. Enjoy it and do your thing, Raider Nation. Let's get this, baby. I'll catch you guys on the next one, man. I'm Raider Dave. I'm out. Peace.